On Remake again. Last week we took a little bit of a break, but today we are back, and we've got a lot of stuff to work on. Just make sure I have the sound working here. And I'm looking more and more like a bum as time goes on, but that's okay, right? I'm a programmer. I don't have to look super professional at the moment. Um, but yeah, I know I need a haircut. Um, hey, Andrew. We are looking at the multi-tenant version of Remake, and we're testing it out, and we're seeing if the sessions work, and we're making sure the saving and the loading of data works, and we're gonna also try to get the single tenant version to work, which I may have broken in the process of making the multi-tenant version. So yeah, pretty exciting. So let's see. I have this multi-tenant to-do board that I've been working through a bunch of tasks over here. Um, yeah, it should be pretty interesting. So let's see. I fixed this. I think this is working. Not sure about that. Oh, and I think I need to add new API routes based on the app name. Yeah, I think so, although I'm not sure. I actually might not need to do that. We'll research that. Um, okay, so just to give you an idea of like what I've done recently or so far, I guess. Um, so all of these changes have been in the past few weeks. And this is where I started the transition to the multi-tenant architecture on October 2nd. So I've been working on this for about 2 weeks, and I've added a lot of stuff actually. Um, so right now, I'm gonna just make a list because I don't actually do this that often, but just like a review of of like what I've done. So for the multi-tenant, we're loading templates on the fly instead of pre-compiling them. So that's one thing. And that's necessary because if we, um, if a user, hey, Chandu16, how's it going? Welcome to the channel. I really appreciate you showing up. It's been a while. Um, so I'm just talking through like what I've been working on and why I've been so busy and why I've missed a few of the streams. Uh, because I missed I think one last week and then I missed the two the week before. So I actually didn't do two the week before last week. But I've been super busy. So this loading templates on the fly. This makes it so that like um, so the benefits. I guess I'll put the benefits. And actually, you know what I want to do? I want to do this in Notion. Notion's pretty nice to use for this kind of thing. So we're gonna make like a new page, and we're gonna do like remake review, and then open as page. Yeah, this is much nicer. Okay, so now we can say we're loading templates on the fly. And the benefits are that, and let's bold this. So the benefits of loading templates on the fly are that so now users can, or developers, can upload apps at any time, and we don't have to like reload um, our server in order to, I don't know, pick up or detect their templates. And that's because we're literally, every time the page loads, we're going into the file system and we're seeing, does the template that this route refers to, does that exist? And I guess we don't need this benefits one. We'll just put it under here, like that. And let's actually make this, can I make this a larger size? Text color, interesting. I don't think I can make this a heading. Oh, okay. Yeah, I guess it'd be fine if it was just a heading. Yeah, that doesn't look too bad. Okay, so, and you know what? I want to do a little celebration about this. So let's do a little background of green. That's nice. Okay, so loading templates on the fly. So now the developer can upload apps at any time, and we don't have to reload the entire server in order to detect their templates. Now the downside of this is that the remake is a little less efficient because now on every page load, it's reading from the file system multiple times, which you would think is pretty bad, but I researched it, um, and actually let's research it again. So let's look into like Node.js file read performance, because I think there were some stats on this. Yeah, I think this was the article. What the heck? Medium. Medium is literally destroying the internet. Um, okay, there we go. Clear the cookies, and now I can do it? Nope. Really, they're detecting it some other way, other than cookies. Um, maybe incognito? Okay, there we go. Okay, so um, yeah, that might work too. Okay, so console time and time end, performance now. Okay, just give me the times, dude. I just want to know the times. Okay, so read file, percentage improvement, line count, 400 megabyte dataset. I feel like there was a different article. But yeah, this is interesting. So a 400 megabyte file size, um, to like actually like parse it. I think they're parsing it. I don't know. I don't know what what this means actually, but it's still in the millisecond range. And even for a very large file, it's a second. But no, I want to see like how um, how long does it take to like read a single file? I don't really need large data sets. Maybe this is it. Okay. Read file, stream. This is interesting. So everyone's talking about stream and how it's better, but I don't know. Oh, if it's greater than 10 megabytes. Okay. Well, we're not really at that point yet. Um, well, this one's from 2010. Not that useful. I don't know. We don't really need to know this. It would just be nice to know. Ay, ay, ay. I mean, and I guess I could actually do it myself. I could just do a test really quick, right? Let's do it. Why not? So let's save this to the downloads folder, and we'll just call it readfile.js. And I think since readfile comes with Node, I think what I can do is just do const readfile sync, because we're going to just test it for a single file. So we're going to do this, and then require fs. This might work. Who knows? And let's go into downloads, and let's create a file that's like, I don't know, average size, right? So we'll do like a lorem ipsum that's like, I don't know, 10 paragraphs or something. Yeah, I feel like this is like pretty average size for Remake. So then we're going to save this, and we're going to say like file.text. And so then we're going to read file sync, and we're going to say text equals read file sync. And I think we also need path, right? Const path equals require path. And we're going to do path join, path join dir name, and then we're going to do the name of the file. So we'll just do file.text. And it's possible we don't even need the path join, but it's good to be safe. And then I think we can pass in options here. I think I can say like this. I don't know. If someone wants to correct me, that would be great. But I think that's it. And let's just make sure we've got it. 1, 2, 3. And maybe this will work. Let's go into our downloads folder. And we're going to run node readfile.js. And it works. Nice. Okay, so now we're going to test the time. So console time, I'll just say 1, 2, 3, and console time, I think it's end, 1, 2, 3. Let's do this. And 0.335 milliseconds. So that's a third of a millisecond. And I feel like if we were reading multiple files, like all together, I don't know. I don't know what Node does. Maybe it does some caching or something behind the scenes. I guess maybe it can't. But I don't know. 0.355 milliseconds isn't too bad anyways. So if we consider like maybe if the user, so on a page load, we're actually loading all the partials, concatenating them into one string, inserting them into the template, also reading the layout file. So we've got the layout file, we've got the page file. So that's 2 files already. Then read file for each page, each partial template. So let's say it's an average of 10. So reading 12 friggin' files on every request. And then we have to read 2 user data files. So that actually makes me feel kind of bad. But we're not optimizing this yet, right? So like in the future, we're going to have caching. We're going to cache all this stuff. Like we're going to put it in Redis or something like that. So we're actually not going to be reading from the disk, ideally, like at all, right? And then we'll just tell Redis or Memcache or whatever when to reload the data, and all we have to do is reload the data whenever someone deploys an app. So there's not a lot of cases where we're going to have to reload the data. So caching will take care of a lot of this. But let me just work through this. So 12 files, 14 files, including the user data. Are there any other files we're reading during every request? Any like preference files? I don't think so. I think that's like to render a page, 14 files. Okay, so 14 files. If that's going to take this long, so, and I don't know, this is very inexact, the timing, but we're talking about 4 milliseconds. So let's get that exactly, 4.69. So it's like 4.7 milliseconds. So that's like the overhead of every request. Now, the thing about this is that there's additional overhead because, well, actually, I'm not sure about this. How efficient is a server at reading multiple files at once, right? So like if 10 people are, or let's say 1,000 people, if 1,000 people are loading the app all at once, and we're loading the same 14 files, can that happen? Like, I guess like, does reading a file lock the disk at all? I'm not sure. I think of like, I really don't have experience with this, so I don't really know. Um, but I'm kind of guessing that maybe there might be some some batting of heads there, with trying to read the same files. I don't think so. Read file, node read file locking. So yeah, Remake does have a server, and it is HTTPS. It's a secure server. I'm working on that with a few developers right now. Is building a server where you can basically start up a Remake project locally, right? So you can build your web app in Remake, and then you can say remake deploy, and your web app will be deployed to our server, and then you can share it with people and even um, assign a custom domain to it. So if you have chandu16.com, you'll be able to use that as your app's domain name if you just like forward that domain to our server. So yeah, and then the idea is that building a Remake app is going to be so much simpler. So if you're developing locally, then yes, the data is stored on your computer. But if it's a web app that you're letting other people access and use, then the data is stored on the server. And then you can download it. So if if you're the developer and you deployed an app to our server, you'll be able to say, remake download data, and we'll send you all your data, back to you. So you'll never lose your data. But in order for it to be a web app, the data needs to be stored on the server, in order for other people to see it, right? Like if in your web app you're creating to-dos and you want to share those to-dos with someone else, then the to-dos have to be stored somewhere that both of you can access. It can't just be stored on your computer. Hey, S1 Faka, welcome to the party. So there's nothing about locking here. It says blocking, but I know what blocking is, but it doesn't have locking. So hopefully that's not a problem. So hopefully I'm right about this. Hopefully we're only adding around 5 milliseconds per request. And so if say you're like a user, say this is, using, I'm really not good at this at estimating the load, but let's say there's 100 concurrent users. And this, let's say like the total request, each request is going to take, let's just estimate 15 milliseconds, right? Because I would imagine there's at least 10 milliseconds of other overhead. It might even be more. We could actually assume maybe that it's like 45. we'll just say 60, right? So 60 milliseconds, it takes the server to process it. Now, if that's over, let's say, 4 cores, right? Then we're just going to do it the simple way and divide this by 4. It's not, I don't know, it's a bit of a weird way to do it. But so that's 30, 15. So we're saying 15 milliseconds. Each request is taking. Um, and then if you have like, I guess, 100 people loading the app at exactly the same time, like it, and trying to, I guess no, it wouldn't even have to be trying to access the same data. They're just loading the app at the same time. Then if my performance estimation is correct, which it absolutely isn't, but if it was, then it would take 15 milliseconds times 100, which is, 1,500 milliseconds. So that's a second and a half. So if 100 people load the web app at exactly the same time, they might have to wait an extra second for it to load because, I guess, or partly because of this overhead of we're reading from the file system every time, and they have to wait for other people in line, basically. Sullivan, how's it going? Welcome to the party. We're having a party here. We're learning about how long read file takes. Well, it's probably because one. No, there's a few more than one. We got Android, Jandu, Commander Root, S1 Faka, V&K, Virgo Pros. But yeah, I just started actually. I started like 20 minutes ago or so. Oh yeah, yeah. Twitch is weird sometimes. Um, yeah, so we're just trying to think about the overhead of using read file. Oh, thank you, Sullivan. I really appreciate it. Um, you are the only one who subscribes, but you subscribe for other people too, so it works out. Um, uh, yeah, so basically, we're making like a so I'm currently working on a multi-tenant version of the framework so that we can just use one server, right? One app instance to serve a lot of different apps. And in retrospect, this was a bad idea. In retrospect, I would just deploy different different full node apps to the server and just route the request depending on where those are. I think that would have saved me a lot of time. But anyways, I'm already too far down this path of doing multi-tenant, and it is going to come in really handy. It's going to be much, much more efficient than deploying a bunch of single node apps because we're just going to have one node app and we can just you know spread that node app across multiple cores, and it'll be a lot easier to cache things, and it's just going to make things a lot simpler having it be one multi-tenant instance. But however, there is a caveat. So with multi-tenant, we can't actually load up all of the user's data right at the start and then rely on that data to be cached. Because if someone deploys a new version of their app, it might have different data in it, right? It might have different templates, it might have different partials, it might have different data that they want to add to every user after the user signs up. So we can't rely on the underlying data, the underlying templates and Bootstrap data being the same when they deploy a new app. So we have to read all of this data on the fly, which means that we're reading a lot of files before every single request. We're reading a layout file, we're reading a page template, we're reading all the partial templates, no matter how many partial templates they have, and we're reading all the it's probably actually 16. And we'll just up this to 5.2. Yeah, whatever. Yeah. So anyways, so yeah, but we were thinking about how much each file takes to load from the file system. And okay, so two things. One, we're going to use caching very soon. as soon as we get to like 100 concurrent users or something like that, it's going to make a lot of sense to implement caching like right away. And then we can just refresh the cache every time someone deploys a new app. Um, yeah. But for now, I think it's not that bad because reading each file is only going to actually take, I think, an average of zero point 0.3 milliseconds. Um, so that's less than a millisecond. Millisecond's pretty small. Um, and we're thinking about even if there's 1,000, or sorry, even if there's 100 users trying to refresh the app at exactly the same time, as long as things are spread across 4 different cores, the most they'll have to wait is like a second and a half. And we like really upped or I tried to really up like the kind of base time that it would take to process a request all the way up to 60 milliseconds, even though just reading the files is only going to take 5.2 milliseconds. So I'm kind of hopeful. I'm not saying it's going to work out this way. This is just a really rough estimation, and someone who knows more about performance and node and multi-tenant architecture or like multi-processors and like servers, like spreading out an app over multiple, um, what do you call that? Multiple processes or something. They could probably have it. Yeah, thread. Yep, exactly. Yeah, thank you, Moscow, Bish. Yeah, kind of distributed systems, but yeah, more like having multiple threads. Um, sorry, Chandu. Um, so yeah, so I think at the end of the day, we're not going to get 100 users, 100 concurrent users trying to load up the app like on day one, right? I mean, to get 100 concurrent users like trying to load this like a single page at exactly the same time, that requires like, I don't know, I think like 10,000 active people on your site because not everyone's just like refreshing the page, refreshing the page. Um, most people are just kind of like browsing around or looking around. So yeah, I think this is representative of like actual 10,000 users. I think so. I'm not sure. But then, yeah, the lag would be unbearable. I mean, because then it's adding a second and a half of overhead to every request. And then I don't know, there's other things, right? There's network latency, there's loading the scripts. So this is just like the server response time, which is like really bad, a second and a half. So by the time I think we get to 1,000 users, we'll start to see things kind of fall apart. And I think at that point we can start thinking about caching and, having multiple servers maybe, right? Like maybe this developer deploys their app to server one, and then this user deploys their app to server two, right? Just kind of spread out the load, and then have like some load balancer. But I'm not really worried about that right now because we don't even have a single user using this deployment service yet. So really not something we need to worry about quite yet. Um, so I'm going to just say performance. Okay, so I'm going to continue going through like what I've been working on. So we're loading templates on the fly. And I just want to say templates, user data, and is there anything else I'm loading on the fly? I can actually see this very easily by going in here, or utils, and going into directory helpers, because now I have directory helpers to help me figure out the right directory. So that's user data for like all the data. Page template, layout template, partials. Okay, and bootstrap data. Okay, templates, and this includes like partials, pages, and layouts. Okay, and let's put this last. So loading user data, bootstrap data and templates. This includes partials, pages, and layouts on the fly. Okay, and the benefit is developers can upload apps at any time. We don't have to reload the server in order to detect their new data. Okay, and we'll say downside. So the downside is that every request will take a little longer. If we estimate the read time, needing to help my parents with reconnecting all the cables on the TV. Did you miss much? What did you do to the TV, Android? Why did you disconnect all the cables? Yeah, we're doing good. We're talking about what I've done so far to make Remake multi-tenant. So the downside is every request will take a little longer. If we estimate the performance of reading, or the time to read a single file at 0.335, I think it was, milliseconds, then reading the 16 files, I can't believe I'm writing this, 16 files to render a page. Oh, that's nice of you. Then reading the 16 files to render a page will take about, and let's get an exact number for this. Okay, 16 files is way too many. 5.36. 5.36 milliseconds. Which might add significant overhead down the line. Okay, but I think that's perfect for now. But 16 files, yeah, that's a lot. Yeah, well, that's understandable. I mean, I watch TV a lot. Yeah, if my TV wasn't working, I'd probably want it fixed right away. I mean, how would you feel if your laptop was broken, right? I know, I wouldn't know what to do. Okay, so Bloodluster, welcome to the chat. How much size would each file be? So I estimated the size with that, like, with this lorem ipsum file. So this one here. But I think most files are going to be shorter. Like there's a user data file that only contains like a username and password, so it's really small. I guess we could look at it. So let's go into remake data. User details. So this file is pretty small. So if we look at the info, it's 126 bytes. So pretty small. But then there's the data files that contain actually like the user, like the application data. And these ones happen to, well, this one's big. So this one's probably not even like average. You'll serve minified files? No, unfortunately not. So like a lot of the templates aren't going to be minified ahead of time. That's a good idea though. I think that would speed things up by a few percentage points, maybe 10 or 20%. I'm not an expert again in this kind of stuff, but the only things that are going to be minified are the JavaScript and the CSS, and ideally the images, but that's really up to the user because we're not really minifying images yet for them. But as far as the all this data, so the user data, the bootstrap data, the templates, those are not going to be minified. But that is a good idea. But I think before we minify those files, I think, and we'd probably minify them as they were being deployed, just removing white space, I guess. Yeah, for most of them, it probably isn't going to make that big of a difference. It might just be like a 2% or 3% speed up. I think a much bigger difference is going to be in the caching, because just reading from disk is a very expensive operation, whereas reading from memory is pretty much like instantaneous. So I think we can just store all this stuff in memory, and then I think we're going to cut down on the time it takes by a lot. But for now, I think, again, I think it's fine. Like, you can see how long it takes to load, one of these. Yeah, I stopped the server. Okay, so let's go GitHub. Yeah, that was instant, wasn't it? Okay, so starting the server. There we go. So yeah, this is an example of a page that's loading. And it feels like a regular page load. I mean, granted, this is on local, right? So I don't know, that might make a slight difference, but it really isn't taking that long. And it is reading a lot of, not quite 16 files, but it is reading probably 8 files on this page load. I think, if everything's working properly. Okay, so let's go back here, and I just want to review a few more things. So, init rendered routes. I think that's the main thing I did, honestly, is just loading the templates and the data on the fly. But I also, let's see, I got, so in order to support this, I made a directories helper library to look up the correct directories where the data is stored. At the beginning of the stream, I made this. So this is a node program, and we're loading in path and read file sync, and we're timing it. So we have this console time, so we can say like test1, for example, and test1. So as long as these names match, console time will keep track of the time between when console time is called with the same name and when console time end is called with the same name. So as long as these strings are the same, it's going to keep track of the time between when they were called. And in between those, we're reading the file, and we're reading the file synchronously, which means the entire file's text is going to be read before we go to the next line. If we were just using read file like this, it wouldn't be an accurate test, because this actually returns a callback, right? So we'd have to put console time, we'd have to put time end inside of the callback in order for this to be an accurate test. But we're reading it here with read file sync, and then afterwards we're measuring the time, and when we did that with our single test, so it's very unscientific, we got back 0.335 milliseconds. But I just wanted a rough idea. Okay, so made a helper library to look up the correct directories where the data is stored. Okay, and let's celebrate with that with a little green background. And let's go to the next one. Okay. Ooh, someone did something. Oh, thank you, Sullivan. I really appreciate that a lot. Thank you very much. Um, okay, so okay. Have fun, Andrew, and I hope you have a good night and get some good rest. And I will talk to you tomorrow morning. Okay, so here we've got async utilities. Okay, so that's. Ooh, I did do a lot of work with this. So this is a cool thing actually. I got a way. So I made a way. This is actually really cool. I'm gonna show this file. So this is inside of Remake. If we go into the lib and we go into rendered routes. So this is the new rendered routes code. Watch, I'm gonna like show all this off, and then I'm gonna like try playing around with the app, and it's gonna totally break, and that's gonna look kind of bad. But okay, so there is this route down here, which I'm really proud of. So I was trying to like figure out like, okay, how do I parse a route and like get the first route parameter and the second route parameter and the third route parameter and possibly the fourth route parameter, but like not have any of those required, um, and then like do different things, based on what they are. And one way was just to like get the overall route, right? So I could have just like had this be like a star so that it would accept any route. And then I could look on the request object for the path, the path name. I'd get the path name from the request object. And then I could parse that path name looking at its slashes or something. That's true, but a lot of I think so. We're using DigitalOcean, and I think they use SSDs. I'm pretty sure. But yeah, even their SSDs are probably not as fast as my SSD because I think consumer SSDs are probably higher quality. Um, let's look. Hmm. Yeah. Oh, standard or performance SSD. Oh, okay. So they have different ones. Hmm? I don't know what this means. Does DigitalOcean use SSD? Yep, so they do. Yeah, it's always using an SSD. Yeah, okay. So that's good to know. But anyways, getting back to this, so I could have used this and then I could have like manually parsed each parameter from the path name, but Express.js handles this automatically for us with these like path name parameters. So you could have, so if I remove these question marks, these would just be like regular, path names, and you'd have to have all four of these in order for it to match. However, so like you'd have to have like slash something slash another thing slash something else slash some fourth thing, right? But if you put this question mark in there, it makes every single one of these optional. So you could have some of them be optional, right? You could have like, just the third and the fourth be optional, right? So then it would require the first two. But this way, all of them are optional. And if the first and the second one doesn't come in, then the third one isn't going to come in, right? That's pretty much guaranteed. I guess I'm curious what would happen if I did like slash 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 and then something. I wonder if that would break this. But anyways, we're not going to worry about that. This basically lets us get all of the param names pretty easily. And then we have this get params function, which gets the params from the path name. It uses this function. And we what the heck? Why am I doing that? Oh my goodness, this is so weird. Wait, I pass in the request. I pass in the request. Get param, get params. Get params from path name. I pass in the path name. And then I parse the path name. What? Why would I do that? Oh no. Route matcher. Wait. Path name. Yeah. So I'm doing it over again. I don't know. I don't know, guys. I did this all in like a whirlwind, like week and a half or 2 weeks. So I'm not sure why I did some things, obviously. But yeah, I'm matching it again, again down here. I'm talking about how awesome this was to do. Because I think this would just give me the first param, second param, third param, fourth param right on the request object. But I guess yeah, I'm getting it from the path name. I don't know. It's not really that important. I mean, I'm parsing the path twice, and I know I say that a lot, like it's not really that important. But really, it's not because I have so many other things I need to focus on. Like marketing and making tutorials for this framework and stuff like that. I really just need to get this um, multi-tenant version working. So if like some work is duplicated, it's like, okay, what that's gonna add like 0.002 milliseconds onto it, whatever. That's kind of how I feel at this point. But yeah, this is unfortunate because I think I had it getting it right off of the request params before. But I think maybe I ran into trouble with that. But anyways, this was a really good idea. I wish I was using it. But I'm not going to worry about it right now. Okay, so anyways, it gives us a way to get the params. So I'm going to write that. So, oops. Made a helper library that can parse any URL's path name to get all the data we need to render the page. This includes, and let's look at what it includes. So get params right here. So this is all the data that it gets from the params. It gets potentially the app name if we're in the multi-tenant mode, and then it gets the username, the page name, and the item ID. So we can paste that in there. Okay, that's pretty good. And I also did this render routes thing, which I'm pretty happy with, because basically it lets you render a page by passing in all the data that you would need, and then it sends back the HTML or returns 404s depending on what happened. So that's pretty cool. Yeah, I'll mention that too. Sure. So, oh man, what? Uh, okay, whatever. So we'll say made a helper library to render a page using the data from the URL's path name. Okay, and we'll make that a heading 2, and we're going to also, I don't know, I guess I kind of meant to like do more actual work today, but it's kind of nice looking over like what I've done already. I don't know. Yeah, I think it would make more sense probably to work on this more. Get data for page, place params. I mean, that's pretty much the main things I did anyways. A lot of the rest of it has been fixing bugs. Oh, this was a big one. Huh. I wonder why this was so big. Oh, because I had to add that. Yeah, and I had to get the bootstrap data. Oh, and I renamed a bunch of files. Okay, that wasn't too bad, I guess. And the login route. Jeez, this is a lot. Big project. This is all over a week too. A lot of stuff for a week. Oh, this was a really fun one. Yeah. I really like this one. So this is really cool. So basically, Handlebars, which is the templating library we're using, allows you to, when the app first starts up, pass in a bunch of partials and helpers, right? And then it'll load those partials and helpers, and it'll help you render your app with those partials and those helpers. However, since we are loading like we're loading an app on the fly, right? We need to be able to get those partials as the page is loading, right? We can't preload them when the app first loads because the app, a separate app might be deployed later. And so we need to be able to get those partials later. So I learned about this thing in Handlebars. Templates. Really cool thing in Handlebars. So if we go down to partials at the bottom, there we go. And so most of the partials, again, right, you have to do register partial, right? So you have to pass it in as soon as you initialize Handlebars. But they have this thing way at the bottom that's inline partials. And these partials you can add to any template, and they'll work just like partials, except you can use them only in that template. And that's it. And so what I did is I'm reading all of the partial files for every app as the app is rendering, and concatenating them into a bunch of inline partials, and then adding them to the layout template at the very top. So they're not rendered, right? Because they're just handlebars code, right? They're in double curly braces, but you can use them as if they're normal partials from within your template. So they work exactly like they would before, except they have all the benefits that we need, where we can just use them and render them on the fly. Yep, guys, I will be right back. I have to take care of something real quick. Okay, I am back. Yeah, oh, Chandu, I didn't respond to you. That's a good idea. I should check the read and write speed. I think a lot of people have done that for DigitalOcean, and even though I think there are some hosts that are a little bit better than DigitalOcean in terms of speed, so many web hosts vary so much in that. Like 1 month they'll be the best, and then, 10 months later they'll be the worst. Whereas DigitalOcean, as far as I've seen, has been the most consistently good. Like first, second, or third place in a lot of the performance benchmarks I've seen. So I think they're a pretty good choice. Anyways, so I grab all of the partials, concatenate them together in strings, and then inline them so that we can load them on every page load. So pretty inefficient, but it works for a multi-tenant architecture for now. So I'm going to write that down. So made a helper library to concatenate all the partials into a single string and inline them before every page render. Okay? And we'll do a heading 2, and we'll give it a little background too. Boom. Okay, so let's see if there's anything else. That I removed. Oh, yep, there's one thing that I did that was really big that I think is coming up soon. Page utilities. Yep, that was interesting. So that's more with the partial stuff. Stat async. New API route. Yeah, this is pretty standard stuff. That's fine. Okay, so this is the thing I've been working on for the past few days. And this was actually really hard to do. Hey, JD Hirsch, welcome to the chat. How's it going? So this is something that I am not an expert in, and I could totally use a lot of help with. But I'm pretty excited that I was able to do it at all, because I was able to build an entire asset pipeline, basically. I don't know. It makes it sound so complicated when you say it like that. An asset pipeline. It's just a bundler, so it's just like it's using Parcel and Sass under the hood, but it's a custom build process for front-end files, and it turned into something a lot more complicated than I thought it was going to be at first. But basically, it allows you to, either in a single-tenant architecture or a multi-tenant architecture, to compile all your CSS and JavaScript into the corresponding distribution directory under the app name if you're in a multi-tenant architecture, or not under the app name if you're in a single-tenant architecture. And then all you need to do is add this tiny little thing where you use this asset helper to get your asset instead. Now, you don't have to use this asset helper. You can just point directly to your file, right? So if you're on a single tenant architecture, for example, it would just be like this. Like this. And you could do that. However, if you use the asset helper, this layout file is going to work in the multi-tenant version as well as the single-tenant version without you having to change anything. So that's kind of the ideal, right? Because especially, since we are deploying people's apps to the multi-tenant architecture, and they're most likely building under the single-tenant architecture, we want to make that. We don't want to have to rewrite any of their templates or anything during that deploy process. So yeah, something like this. I guess they wouldn't actually, no one would really have to have this anyways, because we're going to be doing the rewriting via Nginx anyways, I think. So I think this is probably going to work for people anyways. I'm not sure though. That's actually something worth thinking about. But we'll run into it. You know what one like super productivity hack that I've learned is that if you're gonna run into a problem anyways, don't write it down. Because I used to write down so many things and just like build up like these giant to-do lists. But now I'm just like, well, am I gonna run into that sooner or later? If yes, then don't write it down. But if it's gonna like slip under the radar and it's really important, and those things are pretty rare, but they do happen. But if they're gonna slip under the radar and they're also very important, then that's when you write it down. Okay, so let's see. I guess let's start testing this. But first, I'm gonna just write down redesigned the asset bundler to support a multi-tenant. Am I talking? Can you guys hear me? You guys can hear me, right? Okay, I think so. Sometimes I forget to turn it on again. Okay, nice. Thank you, Chenju. Okay, redesign the asset bundler to support a multi-tenant architecture. And is anyone confused when I say multi-tenant architecture? Does anyone want me to explain that? Because I didn't know what that was like a month ago. And it's not that hard to understand, actually. Okay, so let's start testing this, I guess. So I just got this working the other day, so I'm actually like really nervous to test this because I'm worried that like it's broken. Okay, awesome. So you get it though. You get it now? Because I think I learned about it like years ago, and I still didn't understand it after that. But it's not that complicated. Okay, nice. So yeah, so this is the multi-tenant architecture right here because we have the app name in the URL, and that's how it'll always be in the multi-tenant architecture. The app name will always be the first URL parameter. So if I go to the URL without that parameter in it, we're just going to have a list of the apps, right? And then if we click into one of them, then yep, it's going to be the first thing. If we go into to-do list, it's still going to be the first thing. If we go into one of the to-do lists, it's going to still be the first thing. So I guess the first thing to test would be to like rename something. So I actually did just test this morning that I can add something, and we're exporting all of that, and we're returning this. Oh, I should get rid of that. So if I go into app assets JS, and this will be a good test for our asset bundler, right? So we're going to remove this console log, and if I refresh and click add to do, nice. Okay, we're not getting that anymore. Okay, so it looks like that's working. Let's look at our data on the back end. So let's go into Remake data, and then we're going to go into test app 1, right, into this folder, and then user app data. And I'm logged in as James, so I'll go into James's data. And let's look at, so the list of to-dos. We should have 3 new to-do lists at the end. So we have personal to-dos, work to-dos, other to-dos, and then we should have new to-do list, new to-do list, new to-do list. Okay, nice. So now if I rename personal to-dos to personal to-dos 1, then up at the top we should have personal to-dos 1. Okay, that looks good. Okay, so it looks like that's working. And if I go into personal to-dos and I check off go to the store, that should change this right here, I believe. So let's check it. True, nice. Okay, so that's working. And if I delete it, so go to the store was just deleted. Nice. Okay, that works too. Okay, so that's yep, that's Jenny eating some chips, and now she's taking a shower, I believe. Um, I'll tell her that you said hi when she gets out, though. Um, do. Oh, and by the way, I'll probably or workers. Oh, there's also workers. Yes, and there's always work being done on my street. It's a very busy street. Um, so yeah, I'm gonna stream, and I'm sorry, Sullivan, this is non-negotiable today, but I'm gonna stream until 4:30 today. So that's 40 more minutes you guys got me for. Um, I am actually sorry about that. I wish it was longer. Um, oh, you were right. You were right the first time. I don't know why the stream's so delayed. That's weird. I preferred it when it was more close to real time. So it looks like all of this data is kind of working. So I don't know. I don't know why. I don't want to like sound too surprised, but I am a little bit surprised. Um, yeah, I blame Twitch too. Um, and I think I can get rid of this rendered routes old. Let's just make sure. So that is all that. Let's see. So oh, handlebars helpers. Did I? Is this working? I don't know if this is working. Handlebars context. Init custom handlebars helpers. Um, oh yeah, and this registers all their handlebars helpers, all the like from the library, and then all the custom ones too. Um, I think this should be renamed actually to not custom because I was confused by that because I was like, oh, is it registering all the helpers or just the custom ones? But it's yeah, it's all the ones. So let's rename this. And we're gonna have to go in here. Okay, and then delete that, and then pass in that. Okay, and then yeah, okay. So looking through this, routes, params, username, current user. I know we're getting all of this stuff for the route. Flash errors, I believe we're getting that too. Add remake app status to page. Um, I actually think we might be missing this. Nope, look, we got it. Is remake your job? I yes, if you define my job as the thing I spend the most time on. I work 3 days a week though for a different startup, but I spend more time working on remake than that other company because I spend mornings, evenings, and Thursdays and Fridays, and sometimes some of the weekend working on remake. So usually a lot more time working on remake than my regular job. But yes, I also have a regular job that brings in money. And until remake starts bringing in money, I will continue working at that regular job, most likely. Unless, like tomorrow, 10,000 people start using remake, then I might consider leaving my job just for the potential, of a project that is doing really well. So I want to see where I'm adding this. Da, 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 da. So I think, let's see, add remake app status to page. That's not here. So it must be in get page HTML. So I think that's in uh, page helpers. Where is the page helper? Page utils. There we go. So maybe it's in here. There it is. Okay, nice. So when we get the page HTML, we're getting the HTML with app status. Okay, cool. I mean, I'm convinced that it's there. So I think we can safely delete this old, this old init rendered routes because I was just keeping it around to make sure that it was rendering in the same way as before. Hey, I'm Dat Brit, 7. How's it going? Welcome to the stream. Welcome to this party, this adventure, this escapade of technical exploration. Uh, so I'm going to delete that, and yeah, so we can just call this cleanup. Oh, and actually, let's I guess look at the console to make sure we're not getting any errors. Sometimes I don't do that, and then um, I commit non-working code. But yeah, everything's working. CEO invited you over to the office for tomorrow. You might get a job because last time you had a technical interview at that company. Oh, that's cool. That's awesome. What kind of role is it? Um, so I'm gonna clear that, and I'm gonna just say clean up. And that's awesome. It's a startup. I love working at startups. I've actually worked at startups for the past, I don't know, 8 years or so. Um, although I did take a little break, but uh, yeah, it's pretty fun. A mid web developer, though you consider yourself junior. Their clients are startups. Oh, cool. Where are you located? Are you in Are you in Canada? I kind of feel like a lot of people in this chat are from Canada. I don't know why. Or are you in the EU? Okay. Which country, if you don't mind saying? You have an interview at Amazon, building your resume now to share with HR. That's awesome. Slovenia. Okay, cool. Slovenia. Yeah, you know what? I'm gonna look that up because I actually do not know where that is. Um, Slovenia. Oh, cool. I'm is this near at all um what is it called? Romania? I guess I think Romania is pretty small, right? Kind of. Let's see if I can if I can find Romania. Uh I can't see. uh wait, I really I really can't. Oh, there it is. There we go. Okay, there we go. It's huge. I thought it was smaller. I was looking for like a small one, like in between over here or something. It's gigantic. Okay, cool. You guys making fun of me. Um, so yeah, I'm working with someone who lives in Bucharest right now, and they're gonna be moving to Switzerland. So they're moving from Bucharest to Switzerland, and so yeah. But so he'll be traveling probably right through your country. Um, how long? I wonder how long it takes to get from Bucharest to Switzerland. Yeah, yeah. That's. I think um, he knows that. Yeah, I think it is a pretty big difference. But he works as a web developer, and when he tells people that he lives in that he's from Romania, people offer him very little money. Um, but I wonder if you can take the train. No, you can't get the train, huh? That'd be kind of cool if there was a train all the way. I guess that's maybe a little hopeful. For 20 hours, yeah. Yeah, so yeah, people always like lowball him, just because they know he's from Romania. But like, Yeah. But he's like he's a very, very competent web developer. Like he really knows his stuff. So he deserves a lot more than that. So I think, yeah, I think that's part of his um, reason for moving. Um, okay, so we did that cleanup. So you know what the next thing I want to do is so if I go so before I'm able to like test another app, right? So if I go back to this and I go to test app 2, watch what happens when I go to your to-do list. It says 404 not found. And the reason is because it thinks I'm logged in, right? See, it's saying hi James. But there's no user data in this app for James. And that's because I have the same cookie as James has for this app, for test app 1. Um, but test app 2 doesn't have any data for James in it. So I need to convince it that it's not logged in um, somehow. So I'm going to research cookies. Have I launched any project or app that makes money for me? If it's not a secret. Um, no. I designed a t-shirt that brings in like $50 a year. And I'm just trying to think of everything that I've done that makes money online. Um, I think I'm gonna make money from Twitch, but I'm not sure. I haven't like gotten any notice from them, but I've gotten some subscribers, so maybe I'll make a few dollars from them. Um, no, I haven't really done anything online that's made money. I've hoped to do a lot of things that make money. I guess I'm working at a startup now, so I don't maybe that counts a little bit because it makes me money, but and they charge for it. Oh, nice. Oh, little dog. Uh, yeah, I should make more like unlocked emotes. That would be cool. But yeah, no, Oblivionaire, I haven't. I am very, very hoping to have an app soon that makes money. There is so my most recent attempt was requestcreative.com. And if you go there, it's like I think it's a pretty nice app. It lets you like build out your own page for, like your freelance services. And you can create like a timeline and set a price and show your past example projects. And I am very much planning on turning this into a service that I charge money for. Um, Ideally, somewhere like around $5 or $10 a month. But just to be able to like make a page where clients can check out your work, and then hire you, and then you can, be off to the races with a good client. Um, but yeah, there's yeah. So this is my latest project. I launched this at the towards the end of last year, and it's built almost entirely using Remake. So you can imagine why I'm working on Remake now is because I I started working on Remake when I designed this site, and then it kind of became very interesting to me to work on Remake. And the more I improve Remake, the more I'm going to be able to build stuff like this very quickly. Okay, so I'm going to research um, cookies. Okay, web cookies. I don't know why I thought that was going to return something else. Oh no, I don't want Wikipedia. I want the Mozilla Developer Network. Okay. Creating cookies. Set cookie, cookie name, cookie value. Yummy, yummy cookie, tasty cookie. That's funny. Um, is a session cookie. It's deleted when the client shuts down. Okay. Permanent cookie. Okay, specific date. Secure and HTTP only. Okay. Okay. Scope of cookies. This is what I want. Domain and, oh, path. This is what I was curious about. What URLs the cookie should be sent to. Domain specifies allowed hosts to receive the cookie. If unspecified, it defaults to the host of the current document location, excluding subdomains. You know what? When people write documentation, they should be clear. What does this mean? Domain specifies, domain, if unspecified, it reveals to the host. What does this mean? Excluding, okay, wait. If domain is specified, then subdomains are always included. What does it mean? Okay, for example, if domain equals mozilla.org is set, then cookies are included on subdomains like developer.mozilla.org. Oh, interesting. Okay, so I thought it never that cookies are never transferable between subdomains, but I guess yeah, they are. This is good to know as a web developer. Oh my goodness. Developing web apps for 8 years and doesn't know a thing about cookies. So this is cool. And then path indicates a URL path that must exist in the requested URL in order to send the cookie header. Not really sure what that means. I guess the cookie header would be... okay. I think it's this one. I don't think it's the set cookie header. I think it's this one where the browser remembers. It's kind of like local storage. So the cookie's in there. You've got the keys and the values. And then it's going to send that every time. So this is saying path indicates a URL path that must exist in the requested URL in order to send the cookie header. Yep. Okay. The percent sign xf x2f, oh, the forward slash character is considered a directory separator, and subdirectories will match as well. For example, if path equals docs is set, these paths will match. This is exactly what I want. What? Oh, but only on local. Huh. But still, I mean, yeah, it'd be useful on local. And then same site, Chandu, you're going to sleep. Good night, Chandu. I hope you have a really nice night, and I hope to see you tomorrow. I should be on around noon or 1 p.m. or whenever. Good night. Okay, same site cookies. Let servers require that a cookie shouldn't be sent with cross-site to provide some protection against cross-site. Ooh, I don't know what that means. Okay, same site attribute can only, okay. If a same site cookie has this attribute, the browser will only send cookies if the request originated from the website that set the cookie. If the request originated from a different URL than the URL of the current location, none of the cookies tagged with a strict attribute. Wait, what? This doesn't make sense, right? Because I thought this was just the default. Didn't they just say this was the default? Domain specifies, if unspecified, it defaults to the host of the current document location, right? So that shouldn't that be the domain? It should be, yeah. So it should only be on the current domain, then why would you need same site? Okay, well, I don't know. The default behavior, if the flag is not set or not supported by the browser, is to include the cookies in any request, including cross-origin requests. Huh. So maybe this, maybe this part is only supported by some browsers? I don't know. I think so. I don't know, based on what I'm reading. Are withheld on cross-site subrequests, such as calls to load images or frames, but will be sent when a user navigates to the URL from an external site. By following a link. Okay, weird. I guess same site. I guess this always seems like a good idea. Cookie prefixes. The design of the cookie mechanism is such that a server is unable to confirm a cookie was set on a secure origin or indeed tell where a cookie was originally set. Recall that a subdomain such as application.example.com can set a cookie that will be sent with requests to example.com or other subdomains by setting the domain attribute. If a vulnerable application is available on a subdomain, this mechanism can be abused in a session fixation attack. When the user visits a page on the parent domain or another subdomain, the application may trust the existing value sent in the user's cookie. This could allow an attacker to bypass CSRF protection or hijack a session after the user logs in. Alternatively, if the parent domain does not use HSTS with include subdomain set, a user subject to an active man-in-the-middle attack could be served a response with a set cookie header from a non-existent subdomain. The end result would be much the same, with the browser storing the illegitimate cookie and sending it to all other pages under example.com. Okay. Okay. Well, I don't know. Not gonna super worry about that quite yet. Probably very important. But I really just wanted to know about the path thing. So, I guess the next question is, can I set the path in my session store? So in main.js, not this main.js, the other main.js. So in main.js, I have my session right here, secret cookie. Okay, cookie. So session. Let's look up express session. Express session. Let's make sure it's the right one. Express dash session. It is the right one. Cookie. Cookie domain. Cookie expires. Cookie max age. Path. Ooh! It does. It supports it. That's amazing. That's awesome. That's awesome. Gen ID. Okay, so it supports path. So I can set that to the app's path. I wonder if sorry. I wonder if I need to specify the domain if I specify the path, or if I can just specify the path. Okay. Okay, so let's see. There's a few things. So I need to be able to tell if it's on local. Because I don't want to do anything if we're not on local. So let's, sorry, yeah, if we're like deployed, right? If it's a production, so production versus development. So let's search production versus development. I've looked this up a million times, but I still think it's a little confusing. So you set it as an environment variable. Okay, so, but I think if I look at it, so if I console log process.env, I think that's where it's stored. Let's refresh and see what it returns. There's so much. Really? What? Wait, this is an insane amount of information. What is this? npm config save dev, npm config legacy bundling, dry run. How many npm configs are there in my environment variables? Isn't this insane? Oh, it's because it's loading my, oh shit. Oh no. Oh no. I think I might have given away a few secrets there. Yeah, okay, whatever. I already gave them away, didn't I? Ay, ay, ay. Okay, I might have to delete this Twitch VOD. Let's see what the damage was. I mean, luckily there's no credit card numbers this time. I don't know, maybe it's not so bad. Maybe there's nothing super secure. I don't know, maybe maybe you can do something with this, right? Git head, tempter, term session ID. I don't think this is that bad actually. I guess it's not that bad so far. And path, I mean, you can just see like all my path variables. That's fine. I really got to be more aware of this stuff. No, I think this is mostly fine. This seems fine actually. But I didn't mean to be loading all of this into the server. I guess it doesn't really matter because it's just on local. This is very interesting though that npm stores so much. npm stores so much. Okay, so yeah, maybe there is nothing sensitive here. Oh, that's all right, Sullivan. Session secret, that's fine, because we're only using this on local. I'm just trying to figure out if my environment variables oh, there we go. That's the one. That's the one. Okay, gotta reset that one. Ooh, someone. Oh, thank you, Sullivan. Okay, so I gotta reset my Stripe production secret key. Okay. But I think most of the rest of this is fine. It's okay that it's that I revealed it. That's really nice of you, Selvin. Okay, so I guess what I should have done is let's see. Process and I should have just looked for a specific thing. Well, I mean, since I already had it on stream, whatever. So let's, wait, what? Why isn't it loading now? It's not showing the oh, is it because but I didn't delete it. Okay. Okay, so let's look at what they were saying. So here, node end. So do I have a node end? I don't. So this is where it's confusing, I guess. So I don't know if this will I don't know if this will run. I'm curious. Let's try it. So we'll do node end console log dev mode, and this one definitely shouldn't run. Production prod mode. Okay, we'll save that. Yeah, he does. He really does. So let's refresh this. Okay, we made an error. Let's see. Cannot access app. Oh, that makes sense because it's defined on the line right below. Okay, refresh this. What's wrong? App configure is not a function. What? Huh? Express.js guide API 4, I guess. 5. Is there an obvious difference? No, not that I can see. It might be app use. Yeah, I think configure is pretty old. Express.js production versus development. No, that's not what I want. The drastic effects. Okay, well, I don't know. Maybe I should just have it. I mean, I don't think it's app use actually. No, because this accepts a path. Set route render. Put post path. Print method. Listen. Get. It could be get. Name. App settings table. I'm trying to see whether we're in development or production. In Express. Detect production versus development. Okay, so I know that normally it's stored in, so it would be in the environment variable. So you would say like process end dot node end, and then based on what this is set to, right, you're going to know whether you're in development or production. But right now, if we just look at this, it's set to undefined, right? So that's what I was expecting. And I'm curious, does that mean that it defaults to development mode, or does it not care? Is it only for me internally, or does Express.js on some level care whether it's in development mode or production? And does having this undefined, does that mean that it's defaulting to development mode? I guess that's what I'm most curious about. Yeah, that's what I'm most curious about. Also, I don't need that. This is This I don't need to have here. So I'm going to go into, sorry, I was just thinking about this last night before I went to bed. So this I don't need, and I can get rid of this. And let's just search Remake to make sure I'm not using this anywhere else. I'm not. And then I can just return this. Okay, so Express.js node env undefined is undefined. Let's see what people say about it. Is a reference to environment. So they're just telling them how to set it. I just want to know if it matters. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I like this idea. This is a really good idea. To have a default for it. Process M, node M, dev. This guy, this is not good because he's not sitting into like the standard development string. Let's see. I guess it doesn't matter. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just default it, right? So let's do if process end node env. So if there's nothing, then we're going to set it equal to development. Development. Okay. So now if we refresh, nice. Okay. So now it's working. And now we're going to say, we're going to go into the Remake store and we're going to say like is development mode. And we're going to return this, except with 3 equal signs. Okay, so now we have a way to tell whether we're in development mode. Oh, and I don't think I need this here anymore. Oh, I do. Yeah, okay. So we'll say is development mode. I don't know why I'm putting it in the store. I guess I like calling a function instead of do you use experimental mode so that you use import from syntax? No, I use a library called ESM, which magically lets you use the import syntax. So basically, in the main server JS, this is all I do. I require ESM, and then I pass in module, and then module exports is equal to the main app. So it's a really cool library that just makes it so all your import statements will work. I don't know how it works under the hood or any details. I just know that it's used by a lot of really big companies. Oh, we're resetting require here. I didn't actually even realize that before. I just like literally pasted this in from the ESM example. But yeah, it's going to rewrite, I guess, what require means. But yeah, anyways, it's a really cool library, ESM, and it's used by a lot of big companies. And the thing that I don't like about the experimental mode is I think they were requiring you to have like a different file extension, like MJS. And then I ran into like some really weird issues with MJS, and so I was just like, forget it. I'm not using that. That's crazy. Yeah, so this just makes it work exactly how you would expect it, and everything is just super nice. And I don't know. I wish they would just do this by default. Okay, so yeah, it was a nightmare. There were like some really like arcane issues where I was just like, why is this in it? Like top level await statements. Like I kind of understand why they don't allow those, but then I'm like, just let me make a mistake, right? Like just because it's you know bad not to have error handling doesn't mean, if I'm just like hacking on something, I want to implement error handling, right? So like a top level await, I think that should be legal. And they are making it legal now, right? They're adding that to the spec. But it's the same thing with the import. They're like all fuzzy about it, and like, um, should we do it? And like, there's going to be issues with this or that. It's just like, well, let people do it. But I don't know. I think there's like some backward compatibility issues or something with the import thing. So I can understand that more. It's like a more substantial change, but it's just a little frustrating. Okay, so here we can see if we're in development mode or not. So now here, when we're setting the cookie path, I hope not. I really hope not. I think TypeScript is cool, but I like just hacking on things without having to worry about types. Um, but yeah, I don't know. I've heard really good things about TypeScript too. Okay, so we're going to say path, and then we're going to say, are we in development mode? And if we are, oh ho ho, actually, this isn't going to help. So this is an app-wide setting, and so okay, we're in the multi-tenant app, so we're serving multiple apps here. So we can't actually set the session because we're not in an app. Oh my goodness. Oh, that's annoying. What did you say? Um, so according to Bo asks, what's your approach to making a web framework that makes it different? So that's a really good question. Um, so I'll show you. I'll show you what makes mine different. So um, React versus Angular versus Vue. Um, let's look at the syntax. Why do they not have? Can you believe an article about JavaScript frameworks cannot have code examples? I guess it's possible. Okay, it's very possible. This is just a republish of the other one. Okay, LogRocket. LogRocket I trust. This has to be a good one. How are you not showing code examples? Okay, well anyways, if you go to the React homepage, and then you look at their code example, right? So you got this thing, right? And then you go to like Vue.js, and you look at their code examples. Where's the first app? That was kind of one. I don't know, something like this, right? Yeah, I don't know. It's kind of like this, right? So, and this, I guess. So the whole thing. So these things, um, they're like basically using like very similar syntax, right? They're adding state that's separate from the DOM, and they're attaching it to the DOM with like some kind of selector. But you're doing a lot of the programming in JavaScript, right? Most of your interactive view code is going to be done in the JavaScript, right? You're loading data in there. You're controlling, which classes are being added. You're passing data into, child instances. And it's the same thing in React, right? A lot of the work, the actual work, is going to be done in your JavaScript. Actually, even more in React because they don't even have the abstraction like Vue, where they treat this kind of like regular HTML. Um, so basically, I guess my argument would be that a lot of these modern frameworks, they have you thinking in terms of code, right? They have you thinking in terms of how things are going to be rendered and like controlling all these conditionals and having your function output the right data or the right HTML. And Remake is different because it um, lets you build an entire web app using just HTML. So you don't actually need to have this kind of separate state where you're working with JavaScript and you're controlling, the state from there. It's all just in a single backend template, and this is a full working to-do list application right here. And this is all just in HTML, or rather, it's in handlebars, right? But it's a very simple templating language, and it's as close to Vue's HTML, right, as you can get. But you don't need this separate kind of JavaScripty part that's handling the data. All the data is just contained right in the HTML. It looks ASP-like. I don't know what that is. Which ASP? This one? Oh, okay. Um, See, I mean, I actually have heard of it. I didn't know you were referring to ASP.NET, but but I've never like really dug into it. Um, but yeah, so you can basically do all of your um, like state management inside the DOM itself, which makes it, I think, about um, 2 to 3, maybe even 5 times faster than building something in React or Vue. Because with React or Vue, you're having to go from the HTML to your JavaScript and then back and forth and back and forth, and you're running into all kinds of issues, setting up the project, et cetera, et cetera, bringing in all these different, libraries and stuff. Um, one half, one half, one half, one half. Um, oh, no problem. Um, yeah, so it's a much different structure to your application. It's mostly working in HTML instead of splitting your attention, and it doesn't look like every other framework, right? If you look at React, you look at Vue, you look at Angular even. I think Angular is kind of like coming around to the same way React and Vue are doing things. I don't know. I guess this is a little bit more similar to what I'm doing actually. They have a lot of like attributes. But I think the way you set this up, wow, this is so complicated. Yeah, so like you're doing like imports and components and stuff like that. You don't need to do any of this kind of stuff in Remake, right? Like you don't have to create classes or components or push the components together. Um, all you have to do is attach the data to your DOM, and and then attach a few like behaviors. So like we have this creating a new item behavior here, or this editable behavior here. And then you're set. You have a working application where you can edit the data, remove the data, delete the data, add data, list data, and all of that is, just really, really simple and easy. I don't know. I don't know if that really sells it, but I think it's a lot different than this kind of standard way of doing things with like average framework, your average modern JavaScript framework, where you're doing so much work initializing the framework, spelling out the components in JavaScript, attaching the state, loading the state, validating the state. Instead, it's just all handled in the DOM with Remake. You're always a bit leery about these types of hardcore abstractions because they are lightning fast to do things they are meant for, but as soon as you try something it doesn't directly support, you have to fight the framework every step of the way. I think that is definitely valid criticism of Remake. I will be the first one to admit that Remake is not meant for every type of application. I think the benefit, though, is that, like, honestly, you're going to be 5 to 10 times faster building out like a simple CRUD application in Remake as opposed to using a different tech stack. So if that speed matters to you, right? If getting something out the door in a month is important, yeah, then it's going to be worth it. But I would say, yeah, if you're building a social network or you're building any kind of application that has tons of data in it, right? You're like parsing tons of data on the back end, like an analytics application or even just an application like something where you're handling tons of customer data, right? Like a CRM or something, but it's going to have like tens of thousands of records. It's not worth it to do it in Remake. I'll be totally upfront about that. Does it handle HTML5 forms well? So the other thing to know about Remake is that it's a server rendered, it creates server rendered web applications. So you actually don't need the front-end framework at all if you are just rendering the page. So if someone's not able to edit the page, you don't need the framework at all. The framework is just used for creating editable pages. So as far as HTML5 forms go, you are free to handle those on your own with the server as we provide it. It's not in the future we will support HTML5 forms better, but yeah, for now you just have to handle them yourself, and we don't really get involved with it. I guess you could. It wouldn't be hard. It wouldn't be hard to handle an HTML5 form with Remake. So you would just attach a few data attributes to it, and then you could save the data to the page. And then when you save the form, it could just save the data. Yeah. So it's not like bad at handling HTML5 forms. It's just not specifically designed for it. But according to Bo, I have to go now. I have other plans. But if you want to talk about this further, or maybe try out the framework, I could really use beta testers right now, and I would be forever in your debt if you want to reach out to me, and you can do so here. So this is my profile on Twitter, and you can reach out to me there, and we can talk about maybe having you you test out the framework, and maybe we can have like some kind of exchange or something. So just let me know. But I'd be very interested in like getting more feedback from you and seeing what you think and seeing, the areas you think the framework could use improvement in. That would be very valuable to me. Um, so yeah, I appreciate you asking about it. I mean, that's what I'm here for, honestly, is just like taking questions about it, helping people get started with it, working on it, obviously, and improving it to the point where it's much easier to use than it already is. So to finish this up, I'm going to just say, as far as the sessions go, this is going to be a little bit harder to figure out than I thought it was going to be. Simply because this Express session is an app-wide setting, and since we're handling multiple apps, there's no way I can think of right now that we're going to be able to set this path differently for different, sub apps inside of this, parent app. Just because this is a global thing. However, if somehow we can get the request in here, like maybe express session, we can like pass the request into it. Then from the request, I can get the app name and then I can set the path dynamically. So I'll look into that, but I'm going to go for now. And I really appreciate you guys stopping by. I'm going to try to stream tomorrow too, and hopefully be on for at least a couple hours around noon tomorrow. Okay, see you all later, and have a really nice night, and have a great weekend if I don't see you. Bye, guys.